Hello everyone, my name is Gilbert and this is a walk around Internet Explorer 9. Welcome. This is the first presentation that we do in a series of webcasts where we're going to be talking about Internet Explorer 9 and all of the new features that Microsoft have put together in this new browser for Windows. In following presentations, we're going to be talking about how you can take advantage of all of the new advantages that Internet Explorer 9 has put together under the covers in terms of performance. So we're going to be talking about tricks that you can do to improve the performance of your applications and your websites. Following that, we're going to be talking about blending your site with Windows 7 and how you can take your applications one step further, bringing them closer to what native applications in Windows 7 can do. And then lastly, we're going to be talking about how you can take your websites mobile and how Internet Explorer 9 for Windows Phone 7 in the Mango version is going to bring all of the powerful features that the team had introduced in Internet Explorer 9 for Windows, in this case in a mobile version. So let's start. With Internet Explorer 9, the team at Microsoft focused at three big objectives. First one, making your HTML5 markup to be interoperable with other browsers. That means that the way Internet Explorer 9 interprets the HTML and the CSS, it will be the same way as most leading browsers do these days. And at the same time, we're going to be executing JavaScript in the very same way that all modern browsers do. In this way, you will only need to support one core of code instead of writing workarounds for different browsers. In this sense, all of your code is going to run in the same way in Internet Explorer 9 as it does in all other modern browsers. Second point is about GPU power HTML5 graphics and media. HTML5 demands a high performance graphics system that needs more of what the regular competing applications do. So with Internet Explorer 9, the team offload a lot of that work to the GPU, improving the performance highly and in a way that is just fast. And then last and certainly not least is across the board high performance increases in the HTML5. So here we're talking about JavaScript execution, we're talking page layout, and we're talking page display. So all of these have been greatly improved in this new version of Internet Explorer. Before we even start, let's see how the browser behaves. So at the first point, we have our code. We have CSS, script, and HTML. Those things are downloaded by the browsers, and then the first thing it does is parsing this information. It's going to create a DOM, and here it's going to go the HTML and CSS portions of the code that it downloads, and on the other side is going to bring all of this script. And here we're going to have a virtual machine that is going to be executing all of this code, and the way that it does it is that the script edits the DOM, and the DOM itself, through some interaction with the user, fires events back to the script, and then this cycle goes. Once this is done, their layout fires, and then it creates a display tree, and from there the display goes into rendering. This is the way browsers behave. So we're going to be seeing how Internet Explorer 9 has improved a lot of the different building blocks that makes up for the browser, and how it has made the experience lightning fast, and at the same time it has become a very good citizen for the computer by taking advantage of other resources and then lining out the execution for other applications running. Let's talk about how the evolution of the web has gone. We can go along some years back, and then we can think of the web 1.0 as a content web. Here we had the HTML and CSS mostly going around the world. Then we had the web 2.0, and that was greatly advanced by the Ajax web. And here we had some JavaScript, some DOM, and some asynchronous requests to the server. And one of the first example of this was Outlook, which introduces this to the browser with Internet Explorer 6 at a time, and then from there on it has been evolving, and now we have this web next, and that next is the HTML5 rich web, which is graphically and media rich, but is also native. We're talking that we're moving away from plugins, we're moving away from intermediaries, and HTML in itself is getting all of these powerful things that before was only available through either plugins or some native experiences. The GPU Power HTML5 means that all of that richness and graphic complexity that HTML5 brings to the table demands a high performance graphics subsystem that with Internet Explorer 9 is being offloaded to the GPU. Internet Explorer 9 allows for features such as alpha channel blending to be implemented with very high performance. And here we're not talking that we're doing all this calculation in the CPU, we're doing this what it is being optimized for, and this is the graphic board. We also are be able to delivering frame rates needed for smooth animations and video playback that before was made only because of plugins, and now we're doing this natively with scripting, and at the same time we're reducing the CPU load from graphics, allowing other subsystems to perform faster. And this means that Internet Explorer 9 is becoming a better citizen in the computer by executing all of this in the different hardwares. Also, we're able to improve the performance in the JavaScript execution. We're improving performance also at a DOM interaction and layout level, and we're also seeing some GPU power rendering, and this is very important in terms of speed and how all of the advance that has gone into this area of hardware design. Also, we have some cross-browser interoperability built in. We have HTML5 markup, CSS3 markup, and DOM programmability. And this means that all of the code that you write targeting these new technologies is going to run the same way, and it's going to render the same way in Internet Explorer 9 that it does in all modern browsers. Also, we're going to have some graphic capabilities here with alpha color and opacity built in natively with the GPU and accelerated, round corners and multiple backgrounds. And we have some HTML5 integrated SVG graphics that run lightning fast with this new architecture. We also have some media capabilities added to this equation. We have some video and audio tags with MP4 and the H.264 formats, and we also have some MP3 and AAC, especially important for the en.mp4 codec. And on the image side, we also are introducing support for JPEG XR. JPEG XR is a new format for high definition images that previously was known as Microsoft High Definition Photo Format, and now is part of the standard of JPEG. And with this, we're also supporting color profiles, which previously were only available in Mac computers, but now it's natively supported with the Internet Explorer. So let's see how interoperable HTML5 markup means and how it plays. We're going to be talking about how Internet Explorer 9 interprets the same HTML, the CSS, and the JavaScript in the same way as other browsers. And then this is an expectation that from now on developers can rely on into building their application. So interoperable HTML5 means interpreting HTML, CSS, and JavaScript on the same way. Always there were going to be some difference on the edges because of the standards evolved, but we're trying to do the core platform, and we're talking all of these technologies that you and me as developers and designers rely on to be interoperable. And we're talking about these edge cases because browsers implement standards in a different way, and we're going to see how those markups have evolved over time and how those things become standard in the execution. So as an example of things that are being implemented and bring it on with IE9, let's see at this graphic. Here we have some API usage over the top 7,000 sites of the web today, and here we see what kind of APIs are mostly used in this website. So here we have some of the ranking. So here we have a number of sites by API rank and how it executes. And the rank number 1 usage is index off, with 94% of the site making use of it. Then we have 80% using get element by ID and add event listener at 65%. And we also have get compute style at around 62, but with 26% of sites making use of it. So Internet Explorer 9, what they made is that they went and put a line, and then they make sure that they will be able to support most of the experiences and most of the APIs that made sense. And here, by making sense, we're meaning that when you're gonna be using some APIs, all of the different scenarios that surround that API are going to be available for you to use. So with that focus, you're going to be able to feel safe that those APIs that you're making use of will be supported in the browser. So at this level, So we can also see the different markup languages available in IE9. We have HTML5, which defines the behavior at themes and other specs. We're looking at parsing unknown elements. This is very important because for the first time it's being standardized as part of the spec. And also we're supporting inline SVGs. That way you're going to be able to push that as part of the content of the page. We then have some XHTML and XML, and here is support for strict fail-fast parsing, which helps developers finding errors quickly. And in this case, you will be able to know for sure that the code that you're writing will behave in a way that is expected. So it's also easier to process outside the browser, because in this case you can make sure that XML or HTML is well formed or not, and then with those things you can make compliance. But the important thing is that you can use namespaces for safely using custom elements. And we're going to be seeing some examples of how these apply perfectly. And then on the third, we have SVGs, or a scalable vector for graphics. And here we have some standalone XML-based document. You just throw the file and then support it. Or you can have inline, both in XHTML and HTML5 documents with support for that. So this is a first, and one of the things that we're seeing is that it allows for faster downloads than just supporting an SVG file format. At the CSS infrastructure, Internet Explorer 9 brings support for CSS tree selectors, and here will help you do more on your site with less script. So you will be able to do things like the end child for odd and even, and you will be able to provide features that are, or in this case settings that are targeting those elements. And we also are supporting with CSS tree namespaces, and with these namespaces we'll be able to style elements associated with namespaces under HTML documents. And this is very important because it will allow you to pretty much copy and paste widgets or contain elements of your page to other websites or other pages, and then all of that information and richness and design and styling to remain there and not to conflict with other elements that might be available there. So here what you're gonna pretty much doing is that you're encapsulating your functionality styling in a way that is portable. Okay, so moving along, Internet Explorer 9 programming model is the central part of the web platform used to manipulate the DOM. So here we're gonna be seeing support for DOM core, the DOM events, DOM style. We have some DOM HTML, the DOM range APIs, and HTML5 selection. And this is some of the little things that are being supported. So let's see a demo of the same markup being used in Internet Explorer 9 and how it behaves. And we're going to be looking at how you can take advantage of all these new features in Internet Explorer 9, and so less on focus on making things work and more on adding value and adding features to your experiences. So let's take a look at this. So here we are in Internet Explorer 9, and the demos that we're going to be seeing are part of the IE test drive. And we're going to start with the DOM events demo, and this is part of, as we said, part of the new capabilities that Internet Explorer 9 introduced as part of the same markup. So here on the left we have three elements. These three elements have some functionality associated to it, and we're going to see how that is being done. And for that, what we're going to do is that we're going to bring up the developer tools for Internet Explorer 9 and see how this is implemented. So first we select the element. We see that it's just a simple hyperlink there, not much happening there, but we go to the code, and that's where the magic happens, and we see how this is implemented. So we first start by adding a method to the load event of the window, and for that we're using this method called addListener. And this addListener event, what does is that it abstracts some of the functionality in the way that we add listeners or event listeners to the elements. And here we have the standard way of doing it, and which is the standard now with Internet Explorer 9 and with most modern browser, which is adding the add listener. And what we do is that we check for availability of the method, and if it does, then we just add the event listener. If not, then we go with the previous version of doing this, which is the one supported with previous version of IE9, which is the attach event. And here what we do is we're attaching the event to the object itself and then play along with this functionality. Again, you can just pretty much take this code and reuse it in your code as it is here, as it simplifies the way you can implement the functionality. Moving along now, we're gonna be bringing up the CSS tree selectors demo, and this is another of the demos available in the test drive. So you can go to ie.microsoft.com/test drive and give it a try yourself after you have installed Internet Explorer 9 if you have done it. So with this demo, what we're gonna be doing is playing along with some selectors. In this case, we're gonna be playing with the input not enable, and what we're going to do is bring up all of those elements that are not enabled that are from the input. We're also going to be playing with the p only child. That means that there is only one child. So this example just gives us an example of how we can select those input elements that doesn't have that are not enabled. We can also go with the p only child, and here we see how it selects that for us. We can see here on the right how the markup changes and how the markup behaves now differently as we make these changes. And we can do this enable selection, and with this we can arbitrarily select text in or content in our markup or within our pages, important for those elements that are editors or things like that. We also have certain functionality of styling tables, and here we have the original and edited, and we're gonna be seeing how we can just pretty much play with the odd and even. So here we're gonna remove a row. So we do it here, we click on the button, we remove the row, and we see how the styling happens automatically. So we can compare the original and the edited one, and we see that the content is the same, but the styling is dynamically added thanks to this selector. So it's a really cool feature that we're going to be able to put into our implementation and very simply do it. So here is the homepage of the test drive so that you can give it a try. There are many demos, some new for the platform preview of IE10, so you can be playing with those things right now. Next is the get computed style, and this is another part of the API that has been implemented newly with Internet Explorer 9. So here we have an element on the left that is being styled, has different fonts and the border and things, and we're gonna see how we can calculate the values of this styling. So here we see the values, and we're comparing between the get computed style and the current style. The get computed style is the new way of doing things. Current style is a previous available API that we were able to use to get access to the CSS styling. The thing and the difference here is that the get computed style gives us the real values that the layout engine is using in calculating. Here we have some color support, which is the final color that gets defined, and here on the current style we have reference values. So these are reference values added in the CSS. So here we have an example for this is how we can compare between reference objects and computed objects. So these are important for making real-time calculations. An example of this is here we have 75% versus a fixed number, and that fixed number is based on the current size of the window. So that's important to note. This again is gonna come handy if you want to do some real-time support or real-time calculations for style. And that is associated to our next demo, which is the DOM style. The DOM style again is access to the styling from the API and right from JavaScript. So here we see an example of inline. So this is just as if we added the style rule into the style tag of the element, but we can also insert rules into the CSS and make changes to current style rules, and here is they're gonna be pretty much associated to the whole page. So here we have some example elements. So if we play along with these buttons and clicking around, we're gonna see how those elements get updated in real time, so that we can just copy and paste and see the different ways that there are to do these things or to enable these things dynamically in our code. So here we have some examples of the border. So we have a dash border, we have a background color of red, so that we can do and see the different ways, so we can just pretty much copy and paste into our designs and learn the different ways that there are to accomplish certain tasks. Now we go back and we're going to be playing along with our last demo, and the last demo is the XHTML implementation. So what we're going to do is that we're going to play with some namespaces, and these namespaces and how we can take advantage of that in our code. So here we have an SVG object. So this is an SVG object that has been programmatically enhanced so that we can play along with the different features that are available. Here we can even write or create our own paths in top of it, so it's being implemented in a smarter way. You can go to the test drive and give it a test yourself. We can see also on the on the right side how the markup changes and how this is evolving as we add new features. And we even can save the teacher. Once we have done a terrific art job, we can just copy and paste this and bring it into our own pages. And importantly is that here what we're doing is that we're using namespaces, and if you come and we see how this is implemented in the markup, we'll see that there is namespaces added in the content. So here we have a teacher title example, then we have the description and some instructions, and we can with this encapsulate the implementation so that we can just pretty much port it to other ones. So here we have bring up the developer tools, and we're going to see how this is implemented. So what we do here is that we implement the CSS in this way so that it complies with the XML rules of content. Here we see how we are adding the namespaces to the styling, and in this way we will be able to bring it up and port it to other sites without affecting current styles or styles that are already there that might be in conflict. So here we have an example. We're looking at the way it is being implemented and how the namespaces come into play. So here we have teacher instructions, and we see that we can add our own elements and play along with those associated to the style. So a very easy and very powerful new feature that is available in Internet Explorer 9 for you to try out. So we hope that you like what you see here. As you see, there are many new implementations in Internet Explorer 9 that makes life in the same markup a lot easier than it previously was, so that you can focus on adding new features and adding new functionality to your website and your web application rather than fighting those compatibility issues. So let's move along. So as we could see, Internet Explorer 9 has raised the bar when we compare to previous incarnations of Internet Explorer in terms of same markup compatibility. And as I said before, the team really put a focus on improving this in a way that it behaves very much as all other modern browsers that are available today. And if we focus on three main points, we have inline SVGs in terms of markup in HTML and XHTML. We have improving support for XHTML in terms of compatibility, but also at the CSS infrastructure we have selectors and namespaces, which make it easier for us to style our applications and our websites. And at the DOM level, and this is very important for applications, we have improved compatibility in terms of the core, in terms of events handling, in terms of style, range, and HTML5 selection. And we'll see in the next presentation how all of this have been improved in a way that is lightning fast, in the way that it is compiled, in the way that it is executed against the different building blocks of the browser. So now let's move on to GPU powered HTML5 graphics and how all of this high performance graphics system behaves on their new browser. Rich graphics, that's a cornerstone of HTML5. That means graphically rich styling, that means enhanced image support, scalable vector graphics, and media elements. And all of this has been implemented thanks to all the capabilities that are enabled by Windows 7 subsystem. And that's one of the reasons Internet Explorer 9 is being targeted to Windows 7 in a lot of ways, because of all of the different capabilities that are built in the operative system that were not previously available in other operative system, and it makes it easier and richer the implementation, in terms of taking advantage of the hardware available. We have some enhanced image support, as we were saying. There is support for color profiling in the ICC version 4 and version 2. Images with embedded color profiles are now correctly displayed, and now we will be able to do those things along the way, which previously was not available in Windows. We also have some new JPEG XR format, and these are higher compression ratios than JPEG. This means that we'll be able to have higher quality images with the same file size that we do right now, or have equal quality but with a smaller file size, and this will be able to improve a lot the broadband connectivity in the different devices and also on the different computers. We also have support for lossless compression, and this is very valuable for exchanging high resolution original photography through our websites, and these are very important for photography rich websites and applications. And we also have some support for the TIFF image format, and this is very popular for lossless image exchange, some black and white images and scanned documents. So you will be able to interact with these kind of formats right from within your applications. If we focus on SVGs, now we have support for markup and DOM based graphics with the standard of SVG 1.1, which is pretty mature by now. We have some view source simplicity, which aids learning. This is how most of us have learned, just right clicking view source. We have some easy server-side generation, given that it's just XML. We also have some easy client-side debugging, because this is DOM, right? So we'll be able to take advantage of the capabilities of the developer tools within Internet Explorer to handle some of that debugging. And important is that SVG is pretty much supported by most of the popular graphic programs. So you will be able to export your drawings and your graphics to this new format, and it's very easy to integrate with HTML5 and very easy to integrate with the DOM and all of the functionalities on top. Here we have a small example of a SVG graphic that is pretty much made up of two rectangles, and here we can see how easy it is to describe the way the elements or the building blocks are made of. So here we have a couple of rectangles with the field in red and the field in blue. We have some X and Y settings, the same with width and height. And as you can see, this is pretty similar to the way HTML code is written, and here you can do very rich stuff with vector graphics. So let's see a demo. So let's see how the GPO Power HTML5 graphics behave, how some of that SVG is put in context in terms of building experiences, and especially in building games, so that you will be able to take advantage of these features right away and bringing it to your users in Internet Explorer 9. So let's take a look. So here we are back again in Internet Explorer 9, and in this time we're going to be playing along with the HTML5 graphics and how they have been improved in this new version and some new features. So what we have here is a small square. So this square has a radius of 0, has some border style there that we are going to be playing with. So here we can animate some things like taking out the border, but we can also do things like animating the width of the border. So these are new features that are available with Internet Explorer 9 that will remove the way that we used to do borders, and especially rounded corners. So here we can also do some cycling, and if you compare this with the way other browsers do, you will see that the Internet Explorer 9 team have done a terrific job at keeping this, especially when you're animating and you're keeping these changes smoothly consistent through all the experience. And this is very important to keep a smooth experiences, as I said, around the implementation. So this is might look simple, but just by doing this you're adding a lot of simplicity in the way you implement. And here around the corners is one of those things when you can keep different implementations, and we will see this later on in the mobile presentation, how this even goes a long way in mobile styles. So now we move back to the next demo, and this is an SVG implementation of a graphic, and we will see how smooth and how high definition we can get with the different implementations. So here we're just zooming in into the view. This is an SVG graphic, so it's all vector, and as we zoom in we can see the level of detail that has gone and that can be available with this technology inside um, of the browser nowadays. So you can see smooth and very clear text, all of this thanks to the graphic, or the power of the vector graphics. Here we have another example. So here we have another SVG graphic implementation, and in this way we're looking at how we can add interaction to the SVG. We saw that in our previous demo with the teacher example, but here we're looking at a more complex implementation based on the voting that went on in Germany in 2004. So you can see here the different elements and how we interact with them, both from doing the hovering and how that affects the content that we have on the right, and see how we can very simply interact with coloring and shades and those things just right within the implementation. So this is just a glance of things that you can do in your applications and how you can take advantage of this without the need for plugins. And these are all native HTML in standards. So now we have a small but very interesting demo, and this is the an implementation done by Vector Forum for the Tron movie, and this is comic, and you can see how lightning fast this implementation is. And you can just remember that I'm running the recording capability here. I'm not running in the higher graphic version of Windows because of the recording, and you can see how smooth this runs and how the implementation is like something we haven't seen before with native code or with native HTML in this sense. So this is all being sent back to the GPU, and you can just pretty much take advantage of these kind of things. Okay, so very, very nice. You can go to that web page over there to give it a try yourself. And last but not least, we have some graphic acceleration in the SVG performance. So all of those little bubbles that you see going out of the bottle are all SVG elements and are all being animated, which you can take as an example for the kind of things that you will be able to do with your games and with your applications. So this is a glance on the graphic capabilities of IE9 so that you get the expectations of what is new. As you were able to see, this kind of capability opens a lot of experiences and a lot of opportunities for new interactions with the user in a native way. And these are some of the capabilities that Internet Explorer 9 are building on top of, and with Internet Explorer 10 we're going to be able to take even more advantage of these features. Now let's move along to a third pillar that we had, and this is media. We have some rich media integration without plugins, and this is very important. We're moving along from those scenarios where we needed plugins to have some rich access to media, and here with HTML5 we have some specific access to both the video tag and the audio tag that will enable for us to add media integration into our websites without the need to rely on plugins. And this is especially important nowadays with a lot of the mobile devices and tablets that are not supporting plugins as part of the architecture. So here we have some HTML5 video elements with support for industry standard en.mp4 and H.264 high definition. We also have video to be composite with anything else on the page. That means that we will be able to use the video as a brush for content in the website or the applications, means content, images, and SVG graphics. We also have some GPU-based implementation capable of maintaining 60 frames per second at full screen at full HD resolutions, which is able to support hardware video decoders in a way that it just makes it native to the user and takes advantage of all of the powerful features that are available in the hardware where the browser runs. Last, we also have the HTML5 audio element, and here with support for industry standard MP3 and AAC audio. And this is as simple to embed as putting the text, putting a width and height, and the source. And you can even have support for certain controls and certain specific interactions that you can add to your elements. And then, just as with previous elements, you can downgrade gracefully with the content that goes within the tags. So here we will be able to support previous browsers with that. So let's see a demo on how all of this new media it's implemented in the browser and how you can take advantage in very new and interesting ways. So let's take a look at that. And so we're back in Internet Explorer 9, and we're going to start by going to an experience where we're taking video to a whole new level. And here what we're doing is that we're playing with different videos in a different perspective. We're using the videos as a brush for different elements in the screen, and we're using the same source for playing it multiple times. And as you can see here, you can interact with the video, you can interact with the source, you can even interact with the kind of elements and how the brush is being used. And if you see the frames per second that we are getting out of this is very impressive. And again, this is all native. We're making use of the hardware available in my computer, which by the way is not that much, and we're running Windows here on a very basic implementation to the recording of the screen, and still we're getting very good measures. Now we're gonna see a different one, and this one, instead of video, we're gonna be playing with audio. And here we see an example of a sampler. We're gonna be turning on and off some beats. We have different effects. We have live animation of the sound, and again, we're getting very good performance. We're getting a new experience that before was probably only available through a plugin. And if you see the bits per minute and the frames per second that we're getting is pretty high, especially when we have so much going on at the same time here in the screen. So this is another experience, so you can see the kind of capabilities and the kind of new experiences that are being opening by this new architecture and by these new capabilities in the browser. So here we're playing with different presets, and now we're gonna go to the last one, and this one again is a little bit different. Here we have what is called the city of videos, and we have a city that is being built using SVG, and we have the different videos, and we can navigate around here. So here we can zoom into a video and we can see the detail, and then we can zoom back, and then we can see how all of these different videos and sources are playing at the same time. We're animating elements at the same time. We have some different backgrounds here going on. We have all of these small videos happening at once, and you can see how smooth the interaction is. And again, this is all thanks to the hardware. All of this processing is going on the GPU. And if you start playing other applications or doing something else, you will see that the performance is almost none because of the way the browser is executing all of this. So I hope that you like this kind of experiences, that you get to learn new things, and that you get to play it on your own. So I hope you like what you saw. It's very entertaining to see videos playing in a different way and seeing it blending with the experience in a complete new environment. And this opens the doors for a lot of experiences. And I've been saying this a lot in this presentation, but it's because I believe this. And you will be able to do just bring it on your creativity and your imaginations and just making it happen in a native way to the browser. So before we finish, there is one more thing that I want to talk to you, and it's how you can bring your websites closer to the way applications behave in the desktop. We're going to be talking about this more in our third presentation, but I just wanted to give you a small hint into that. So with Internet Explorer 9, the team at Microsoft are introducing what we call pin sites. And with pin sites, what we can do is to put your site at the center of the experience. And with this, you will be able to create closer relationships between your users and their favorite sites. You will be able to allow sites to promote their brand outside of the browser in a way that it behaves and blends with the desktop, and it just pretty much creates a seamless integration with the desktop experiences. Websites interact with users just like Windows applications does, and websites control the user interaction and navigation. You will be able to take advantage of jump lists. You're going to be able to take advantage of taskbars buttons, and all of this thanks to this new. And the best of all is that this is available to any website. Just by adding a couple of meta tags, you will be able to take advantage of this regardless of the technology that you use behind the curtains for doing that. So as an example here, we have the Groupon website and how we're going to see how they can take advantage of that. Here we're right clicking on the browser. This is just a regular browser, but then we can take a look at how we can move along with that. So here we see some of the buttons of the Chrome of the browser and how it would change. So here what we're going to do is we're going to drag this icon to the Windows Desktop, and we're going to see how that changes. So boom, changes, then we lift it up, and then we see that the Chrome of the browser has been branded to Groupon, and here we see a big icon available both on the taskbar and on the browser. We see the Chrome buttons that have been branded, and here you can either specify the color yourself or let Internet Explorer come out with the best color based on a special analysis that it does on your favicon. Also, here we see Groupon taking advantage of jump lists, and here they are able to create jump lists for tasks and jump lists with shortcuts to different offers that are available throughout the day in the city that you are on. Also, we have Facebook. So Facebook takes advantage of this to both integrate notifications and tasks. Here we see how notifications get rendered to the user and how you can bring attention to your website. Same with music or video sites. You will be able to integrate your website with taskbar buttons and then integrate there. And you're writing all of this with very simple scripting. You're not adding any new technology, you're just using your regular web technology, HTML, some meta tags, and some JavaScript to make this happen very easily and integrated with the desktop. So as I said, we're going to be talking more about this later in our third presentation, so tune in for our session, Blending Your Site with Windows 7. This was just a sneak peek to the things that you can take advantage right now, right from the new browsers. So this is it. Let's just recap before we go. We have Internet Explorer 9 tune up for next generation scenarios. With this new browser, the Internet Explorer team are bringing a new foundation for the next scenarios and the next generation of experiences that are coming out of the web. Also, Internet Explorer 9 is engineered for performance. As we said, a lot of underground tune-up has gone up in performance, integration with the hardware, making better use of the capabilities available in your computer, and making it a better citizen. Also, Internet Explorer 9 interprets the same HTML and CSS and JavaScript in the same way. It runs pretty much your code in the way that you expected it to run right from the start, with no tricking and no hacking. Also, Internet Explorer 9, as we said, has GPU power HTML5 graphics and media, making it lightning fast in the execution and very light in the support of your applications and websites. And also, Internet Explorer 9 provides a clean, site-centric experience that you can take advantage to take it a step further in the way that you can interact with the users, in the way that you can connect with your customers, making it a branded experience. So this is a walk around Internet Explorer 9. This is a step closer to something bigger. Stay tuned for the other 3 presentations. We have Internet Explorer 9 performance tricks, blending your site with Windows 7. And last, we're going to be talking about how some of these core experiences are being ported to the Windows Phone 7 operative system in terms of IE9, and this is going to be available later this year with the new wave of phones that will be available from Microsoft and other partners. So go ahead, download Internet Explorer 9 if you haven't done it. go and give it a try. Go to a IE test drive and you can test it out a little bit, and some of the things that we have done here today are also available there for you to play with. Keep on learning. We have a website called Script Junkie where a lot of snippets are available there that are standards, and then you can take advantage to improve the way your applications and your websites work. And stay tuned. Internet Explorer team are hard at work with Internet Explorer 10 and with improvements to the mobile phones and with improvements to the new features. Also, keep on the edge with new standards, with the new ways of doing things. HTML is the future in a lot of ways of the experiences and the way you can port it and bring all of your experiences to a lot of users at the same time. So keep improving on that and keep powering a lot of the experiences that you're doing. My name is Gilbert, and I hope you like what you saw today, and I hope that you're going to keep learning with me all on the next webcast. So thank you, and I'll see you soon.